Former F1 CEO claims Wolff is fed up with Hamilton. Given the unusual lot that has been happening to Mercedes in recent times, there are spreading suggestions that their 7-times world champion Lewis Hamilton could leave as the team principal seeks to find a replacement. Bernie Ecclestone, former CEO of Mercedes, has claimed that Toto Wolff is getting a bit fed up with Lewis Hamilton, who Ecclestone believes isn't performing as expected in 2022. It has apparently not been an easy campaign so far for Mercedes, with their leading driver Hamilton struggling more than the new and young teammate George Russell. The younger British driver has finished ahead of Hamilton in 7 races out of 9 so far, and even rumours tell that it's due to Hamilton's guinea pig role on the team. Hamilton is contracted to continue racing with the Silver Arrows until the end of 2023. However, Ecclestone has questioned whether the 7-time world champion could walk away sooner. He said, "Lewis might sell his position to Toto. This is how much I'm getting. I'll step down and give me half of what I would get. Toto can go and do one of his magic deals, offer someone else less money and keep £20 million. Nobody needs to tell Toto this because he has already thought of it. Lewis would probably stop under those circumstances. I don't know what he's doing dressing up in all those funny clothes. Has he a deal to it? Is it to get noticed? Maybe that's it." Bernie Ecclestone, like every other fan of Formula One, including experts, have been surprised to see Russell performing better than Hamilton, and the former boss thinks that the latter is not putting the same effort in which he used to. While George Russell had quite the spell before joining Mercedes from Williams, his impeccable improvement has raised eyebrows and concerns. In essence, with a better performing car, George Russell has done an excellent job, which raises the question of whether Hamilton himself has lost his magical touch or not entirely devoted to the job anymore. Whether Russell has improved tremendously or Hamilton is declining, the former CEO claims the latter is doing as much and has grown to not be bothered about losing. Ecclestone said, "It's not like him. He has a competitive nature, but he's taking losing a bit easy for my liking. I don't think he's actively helping George. I don't think he's doing anything. I don't think he cares too much. He's not prepared to put the effort into winning that he did." If memory serves well, you'll remember that the unfortunate events of the last race of last season, which saw Verstappen crowned champion, shook the whole world, as well as Hamilton himself, that the Brit took several weeks away from public scrutiny. Also, before he returned, his team principal had announced that the events had left the driver with no more faith in the sport, and the driver himself was on his way to concluding his career just then. Now, in a new season, the driver and his team have struggled to find the right challenger for the championship, leaving them behind both Ferrari and their last-year rival Red Bull. The added salt to the injury is the fascinating energy from the new driver of the team, who has remained the only driver on grid to finish in all races so far this season, and amongst the first 10. Now, the issue of the bouncing car, which has affected Hamilton so badly, is now a question floating in the air. Hamilton was vocal about the back pain that he experienced during the recent Azerbaijan Grand Prix, a race in which the W13 was experiencing a lot of bouncing. The Briton seemed to struggle to get out of his car at the end of the race, but Ecclestone cast doubt on how much Hamilton was really suffering. He said, "George is taller, and if it was going to happen to anyone, it would have happened to him. There was a bit of a Nigel Mansell about it. At least with Nigel, he would get out of the car and rub his left leg as if he had broken it. Next moment, it would be his right leg." It's safe to note that Hamilton is enduring one of the toughest seasons of his career, with Mercedes unable to compete with Red Bull and Ferrari at the front of the grid. Instead, he and new teammate George Russell are left scrapping for podiums whenever a quicker car has a mechanical issue. Russell has impressed by finishing in the top 5 of all 9 races so far this season, while Hamilton's form has been slightly more erratic. According to reports, the 24-year-old teammate George Russell is full of belief, and one doctor who deals with various drivers reported that the younger Englishman is the fittest man on the grid. That must be sobering for Hamilton, who was that thruster once. For the moment, it seems George is biding his time, playing a longer game, and speaking warmly of Lewis at every opportunity. Without doubt, George Russell has outqualified, outraced and outscored the main man so far this year, and nothing seems especially forced in the sorcerer and apprentice relationship. But just as Russell did when he stepped in for Hamilton when his senior partner was down with COVID in 2020 in Bahrain, he is providing a benchmark. In Bahrain, Russell took to a cockpit for which he was too big, in shoes too small, and served up a performance so good that Hamilton walked off his sickbed to deny him a repeat embarrassment in the next race. So far, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has defended Lewis Hamilton. Despite his results, the Mercedes boss Wolff claimed that Hamilton is trying out new ways to fix a new aerodynamic problem, which is caused by the airflow under the car being disrupted. He said, "Lewis has been trying some quite experimental parts of the car, and there was a different floor solution on his car that didn't work. I'm very close to it, and I see session 1 is faster, and then next the other is. And because the car is on a knife edge, if you put a foot wrong in terms of experiments on the car, which need to be done in order for us to learn how to perform and where to put the car, and in the last 3 races these experiments have gone wrong with Lewis and not with George." The team principal said that Lewis Hamilton has been unlucky in his fight with teammate George Russell so far, and as it stands, the 7-time world champion trails his new, younger teammate in the standings with 77 points, while George sits comfortably in 4th with 111 points. Several experts have also called for Hamilton's retirement, including the 3-time world champion Jackie Stewart, who said, "It's time to resign. He's got music, he's got culture, he loves clothing, and the rag trade would be absolutely suitable for him. I'm sure he'll be very successful because he's been earning a huge amount of money, rightfully so because he's been the best of his time." However, some other experts claim that the season could act as a fulcrum in Hamilton's story, either for good or for bad. After he took the blow of losing the last championship, he spent the winter trying to recover, and his father Anthony and stepmother Linda shared an unusually long amount of time with him in America trying to lift his spirits. Despite his team principal Toto Wolff wondering if Lewis would be back, as well as insiders talking about it being a heartache from which he would never recover, Hamilton returned for this season regardless. Regardless of what it is, there is no doubt that the psychological impact of losing the last championship was greater than what can be seen physically. Hamilton desperately wants an 8th world title to eclipse Michael Schumacher's 7. However, he is getting older and his ability to drive brilliantly has dimmed. Trapped in a contract, the walls of age are closing in on the driver, who is also driving a bad car that may not give him the tools to conquer the world again. As Hamilton's 2016 conqueror Nico Rosberg said, "I'm enjoying retirement, but I think Lewis will find it hard." This year's Mercedes is awful compared to the Red Bulls and Ferraris. It bounces and is shaking up Hamilton's back, adding salt to injury. This has clearly pushed him into a corner, but for how long do you think Lewis can genuinely keep up morale in his inferior machinery while the sands of time run down? Should he carry on hoping for an 8th title, or is time running out? Let us know your answers in the comments box, and also like and share the video with your friends. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe and ring the notifications bell for more juicy content coming your way.